Have you ever wondered why only 2% of people rise to the top while the remaining 98% stay locked in the same routines, the same excuses, and the same unfulfilled potential? Is it intelligence, luck, opportunity, or is it something far simpler and far more uncomfortable to admit? This question matters because your answer determines whether you remain among the many or finally step into the powerful few. Carnegie is the definition of the 2% who rise while the 98% remain stuck. He arrived in America as a poor immigrant, working as a bobbin boy in a cotton factory for pennies a day. Most people in his position would have accepted that life as their destiny. That's how the 98% think. But Carnegie was obsessed with learning discipline and long-term vision. He read constantly, studied successful men, invested wisely, and built the largest steel empire in the world. No inheritance, no shortcuts, just relentless self-improvement and strategic thinking. His life proves a simple truth. The 98% wait for opportunity, the 2% create it. Carnegie didn't just become rich. He became proof that mindset, education, and purposeful action separate the extraordinary from the ordinary. The moment you realize that your thoughts are the architects of your destiny is the moment you begin to step out of the ordinary and into the extraordinary. Most people go through life unaware that every action they take, every decision they make, is first born in the mind. They blame circumstances, luck, or other people for where they are, never stopping to examine the thoughts that brought them there. The truth is that the mind is not a passive organ waiting for opportunity to knock. It is an active force that shapes reality itself. The 2% understand this principle intuitively. They know that what they focus on, what they dwell upon, and what they believe about themselves and the world will ultimately manifest in their actions and outcomes. They guard their thoughts carefully, refusing to entertain doubt, negativity, or self-limiting beliefs. Those in the 98% drift through life, reacting to events as they happen. Their minds are cluttered with worry, distraction, and the endless chatter of excuses. They allow fear to dictate their actions, hesitation to stall their progress, and skepticism to undermine their potential. They complain about their circumstances while failing to recognize that those circumstances are, in large part, the direct result of the patterns of thought they have cultivated over time. Meanwhile, the 2% deliberately cultivate a mindset of possibility. They feed their minds with ideas, with knowledge, with inspiration that expands their vision of what is achievable. They practice thinking in terms of solutions rather than problems, abundance rather than scarcity, opportunity rather than limitation. It is a simple truth, yet most people resist its success begins in the mind long before it appears in reality. Every great accomplishment started as an idea, a vision, a belief that something could be done when others said it could not. The 2% are vigilant about the company they keep, the information they consume, and the thoughts they allow to take root. They understand that the mind is like a garden. Neglect it, and weeds of fear, doubt, and procrastination will overrun it. Tend it carefully, water it with knowledge, nourish it with optimism, and it will produce fruit in the form of decisions, actions, and results that far exceed what the average person imagines possible. They do not wait for motivation to appear. They know that motivation is fleeting, a spark that cannot be relied upon. Instead, they train their minds to think in terms of growth, responsibility, and possibility, so that action becomes automatic, natural, and inevitable. In this way, the 2% live in a constant state of creative engagement with their own lives. They see challenges as invitations to rise, setbacks as signals to adjust, and opportunities where others see only obstacles. Their thinking is purposeful, disciplined, and relentless, a silent engine that drives their success even when the world offers no encouragement. Clarity of purpose is the secret that separates those who drift through life from those who move with unstoppable momentum. Most people wake up each day without a true understanding of why they are here, what they are working toward, or what would make their lives meaningful. They follow routines, respond to circumstances, and let the noise of the world dictate their actions. The 2%, however, possess a vision so clear that every thought, every decision, and every effort is aligned with it. They have defined a destination in their minds, and that clarity serves as a compass guiding them through uncertainty, doubt, and distraction. Without such a guiding principle, energy dissipates, time is wasted, and opportunities are overlooked. Purpose transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary results because it provides direction and fuels determination. When a person knows exactly what they want, obstacles lose their power to discourage. Setbacks become temporary detours rather than insurmountable walls. The 2% understand that life will always test their focus, but a clearly defined purpose gives them the strength to persist. They write down their goals, articulate them in vivid detail, and review them constantly, creating a mental map of the path they must take. The 98% often fail to define their goals, or worse, allow them to be dictated by others, reacting to external pressures instead of following an inner compass. As a result, their days are spent chasing fleeting distractions, never building toward anything that truly matters. When you define your purpose, it transforms how you view time and effort. Activities that once seemed tedious or pointless become essential stepping stones to your vision. Decisions are no longer a matter of chance, but are guided by the question, does this move me closer to what I truly want? The 2% are constantly evaluating their actions through this lens, pruning habits, relationships, and commitments that do not serve their purpose. They understand that clarity is not merely about setting goals, but about creating a framework for every choice, ensuring alignment between thought, action, and result. Without it, even the most talented individuals can wander aimlessly, frustrated by lack of progress despite their effort. Purpose also gives meaning to sacrifice. Long hours, hard work, and delayed gratification are endured with a sense of certainty because the person knows why they persist. The 2% are willing to invest time, energy, and focus where it matters most, understanding that every deliberate action compounds over time toward a larger objective. Those without purpose often become overwhelmed by the daily grind, mistaking motion for progress, while the 2% measure every action by its contribution to their ultimate vision. With clarity of purpose, life takes on direction, decisions gain weight, and energy becomes unstoppable. It transforms confusion into focus, frustration into strategy, and ordinary effort into exponential progress. The 2% do not stumble through life hoping for fortune. They create it by aligning their thoughts, actions, and choices with a destination so vivid that nothing can derail their pursuit. The discipline is the bridge between knowing what you want and actually achieving it. So many people have dreams, visions, and ambitions, yet they never come to fruition because the consistent effort required to realize them is absent. The 2% understand that talent, luck, or intelligence alone will not carry them to the heights they seek. They know that without a daily commitment to action, even the clearest vision will remain nothing more than a fleeting idea. Discipline is not about harsh rules or self-punishment. It is the conscious choice to align behavior with purpose, to do what must be done even when desire is weak, when motivation wanes, or when distractions beckon. The ordinary allow circumstances to dictate effort. They wait for inspiration or convenient moments, believing that success will arrive when conditions are perfect. The 2% recognize that perfection is a myth and waiting is a trap. They act even when conditions are less than ideal, understanding that momentum is built through small, deliberate, and repeated actions. Each disciplined effort compounds over time, creating a foundation that carries them through challenges others cannot endure. Discipline becomes a habit, a muscle strengthened by repeated use, allowing them to persist without relying on fleeting emotions or external encouragement. Consistency is the essence of discipline. The 2% do not chase quick wins or abandon routines at the first sign of difficulty. They commit to a process, knowing that mastery and results are the accumulation of countless small steps, each reinforcing the next. While the 98% are distracted by novelty, excuses, and immediate gratification, the disciplined few focus on the long term, understanding that the payoff comes not from random bursts of energy, but from sustained effort over time. They measure success not in single achievements, but in steady progress toward a larger objective. Discipline also means choosing what not to do as much as what to do. The 2% are vigilant in protecting their time, energy, and focus from distractions that do not serve their purpose. They decline invitations that pull them away from meaningful work, resist habits that erode productivity, and train themselves to concentrate on high-impact activities that move the needle toward their vision. This selective focus is what separates those who achieve extraordinary results from those who merely coast through life. It is not always easy, and it is not always comfortable. Discipline requires a willingness to endure temporary discomfort for permanent gain. The 2% understand that every act of self-control, every disciplined decision, every choice to prioritize long-term benefit over short-term pleasure strengthens not just their skills, but their character, their resilience, and their capacity to achieve. They know that life rewards those who act in alignment with their purpose, not those who wait for convenience or desire alone, and they cultivate habits that make excellence inevitable. Failure is not the enemy of success, it is one of its greatest teachers. Most people react to failure with fear, frustration, or resignation. They see it as a verdict on their worth, a signal to stop, a confirmation that the odds are stacked against them. The 98% allow setbacks to define them, to limit their ambition, to dictate what they believe is possible. The 2% understand a truth that transforms the entire journey. Failure is feedback, a guide showing what works, what doesn't, and what must be adjusted. Each mistake, each disappointment, each misstep contains valuable information, if only it is studied rather than ignored. The difference between those who succeed and those who remain stuck is the way they respond to adversity. The ordinary react emotionally, allowing frustration or embarrassment to cloud judgment, while the extraordinary analyze, reflect, and learn. They develop a mindset in which failure is neither shameful nor final, but necessary. Every unsuccessful attempt is a stepping stone, a clue, a rehearsal for the approach that will ultimately prevail. Thomas Edison's countless experiments before creating the practical light bulb illustrate this principle perfectly. He did not fail thousands of times. He discovered thousands of ways that would not work, and each discovery brought him closer to success. Learning from failure requires courage. It demands that one face reality honestly, accept responsibility for mistakes, and resist the urge to blame others or circumstances. The 2% do not wallow in self-pity or seek excuses. Instead, they extract lessons, adjust strategies, and move forward with renewed determination. This willingness to embrace discomfort, to confront errors head-on, and to maintain forward motion even when results are discouraging is what separates them from the crowd. The ordinary may stop at the first sign of resistance, but those who succeed see each challenge as an opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the next stage of the journey. Resilience is built through repeated exposure to setbacks tempered by reflection and action. The 2% anticipate obstacles, understanding that failure is inevitable when attempting something meaningful. They plan for it, adapt to it, and persist through it. Every failure becomes a teacher, every difficulty a test of commitment, and every setback a chance to refine the vision and strategy. They understand that mastery is not achieved by avoiding mistakes, but by learning faster, adjusting smarter, and continuing longer than anyone else. Failure also reveals character, and character determines ultimate success. Those who handle adversity with grace, perseverance, and analytical insight strengthen not only their skill set but their confidence and resolve. They recognize that success is not an event but a process, and that each failure is a crucial part of that process. The ordinary shrink from it, fearing embarrassment or loss, while the extraordinary embrace it as fuel for growth, insight, and the relentless pursuit of their goals. Hard work alone is not enough to separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. Many toil endlessly, pouring time and energy into tasks that produce little lasting value, believing that effort alone guarantees results. The 2% understand that it is not just the quantity of work, but the quality and focus of that work that determines success. They work intelligently, seeking out the actions that have the greatest impact, the decisions that move them closer to their purpose, and the strategies that maximize results while minimizing wasted effort. Every task is evaluated not just for what it accomplishes today, but for how it contributes to the long-term vision. Most people are busy, but business is not progress. The 98% fill their days with activity, often responding to urgencies rather than priorities, allowing distractions, interruptions, and trivial matters to consume their attention. The 2% do the opposite. They focus on high-leverage activities, the few tasks that create disproportionate results. They recognize that working hard on the wrong things only reinforces mediocrity, while working smart on the right things accelerates achievement. Discipline, focus, and planning allow them to identify these tasks and devote themselves fully, understanding that effort without direction is wasted energy. Efficiency becomes a skill cultivated over time. The 2% refine their methods, seeking ways to accomplish more in less time without sacrificing quality. They analyze processes, streamline routines, and leverage tools, knowledge, and systems to amplify their impact. Hard work combined with smart work produces momentum that the ordinary cannot match, creating a compounding effect where each effort builds on the last, creating results far beyond what effort alone could achieve. They understand that effort multiplied by strategy produces results that are both powerful and sustainable. Another hallmark of the 2% is their willingness to do what others avoid, to tackle the difficult, unpleasant, or complex tasks that most people procrastinate on or delegate to others. They understand that excellence often lies beyond the threshold of comfort, and that long-term achievement requires a willingness to face challenges head-on while maintaining focus on what truly matters. They also understand that success is rarely immediate. The most meaningful work produces delayed but exponential returns, and patience is required to see effort transformed into reward. Smart work does not mean cutting corners or seeking shortcuts. It means being deliberate in choices, strategic in execution, and relentless in consistency. It requires planning, prioritization, and the ability to distinguish between tasks that consume time and tasks that create value. The 2% continuously evaluate their actions, asking whether what they are doing aligns with their purpose, contributes to their vision, and moves them forward faster. They understand that success is not an accident, but the natural result of focused, intelligent, and persistent effort, and they cultivate the ability to apply themselves fully to the work that counts most. The people and environment that surround you have a profound effect on your ability to succeed, yet most individuals fail to recognize their influence. The 98% allow themselves to be shaped by circumstances, by negative voices, by habits and attitudes that do not serve them. They accept mediocrity, tolerate criticism, and spend time with those who reinforce doubt and limitation. The 2%, however, understand that they are the product of their surroundings, and they take deliberate control over the company they keep. They choose to associate with people who inspire, challenge, and elevate them, knowing that the right circle will reinforce their mindset, sharpen their skills, and expand their vision. Success is not achieved in isolation. The 2% understand that the ideas, attitudes, and energy of those around them either propel them forward or hold them back. They seek mentors who have walked the path before them, guides who can provide insight and wisdom that accelerates learning. They connect with peers who are equally ambitious, disciplined, and focused, creating an environment where excellence is normalized, not questioned. They distance themselves from negativity, cynicism, and complacency, understanding that spending time with those who doubt, complain, or settle for less can erode determination and cloud judgment. Environment goes beyond people. It includes the physical, mental, and emotional spaces in which one operates. The 2% cultivate environments that promote concentration, creativity, and growth. They eliminate clutter, distractions, and influences that sap energy or focus. They immerse themselves in knowledge, inspiration, and challenges that stretch their capacity and expand their thinking. By creating conditions that support their purpose and vision, they make consistent progress almost inevitable, while those who ignore these factors often find their ambition diluted by chaos, noise, and poor influences. Influence is subtle but powerful. Habits, language, and attitudes are contagious, and the ordinary rarely notice how much of their behavior is shaped unconsciously by those around them. The 2% are aware of this, and they deliberately choose influences that align with their highest aspirations. They read books that stretch their thinking, listen to ideas that inspire action, and surround themselves with people who model the behaviors, discipline, and mindset they wish to adopt. They understand that mastery is not only a matter of personal effort, but also of exposure to excellence, and they actively create opportunities to learn from the best rather than settle for average. Choosing the right people and environment is also an act of courage. It often means leaving familiar circles, saying no to relationships that drain energy, and rejecting comfort in favor of growth. The 2% accept this cost willingly, knowing that proximity to mediocrity limits potential, while exposure to ambition, wisdom, and integrity multiplies it. They understand that life will always offer influences, both positive and negative, and that the ability to select and cultivate the ones that strengthen vision, purpose, and action is one of the most powerful tools for achieving extraordinary results. Risk is the doorway through which the extraordinary pass while the ordinary hesitate. Most people are imprisoned by fear, clinging to comfort, routine, and the illusion of safety. The 98% measure every step by what could go wrong, imagining worst-case scenarios and allowing hesitation to dictate their choices. The 2% understand that meaningful achievement almost always requires stepping beyond the familiar, embracing uncertainty, and venturing where others are unwilling to go. They see risk not as a threat, but as an opportunity to grow, to innovate, and to achieve results that cannot be reached by cautious, conventional effort. Calculated risk is different from reckless action. It is not gambling with chance, nor is it diving into situations without preparation. The 2% study, observe, and gather information before moving. They weigh potential outcomes, plan contingencies, and develop strategies that maximize advantage while minimizing unnecessary loss. This careful approach allows them to act decisively in situations where others stall, confident that thoughtful action, even if imperfect, is far superior to inaction. They understand that the greatest risk of all is avoiding risk entirely, for in doing so, one forfeits opportunity, growth, and the chance to create something extraordinary. Risk also demands courage. The act of stepping into the unknown awakens uncertainty and exposes vulnerability. Most people recoil, fearing embarrassment, failure, or criticism. The 2% acknowledge these fears but refuse to be paralyzed by them. They know that every successful innovation, every major breakthrough, and every significant accomplishment was preceded by a choice to act despite doubt and discomfort. They see hesitation as a silent enemy that erodes potential, and they cultivate the confidence to move forward while others wait for perfect conditions that never arrive. Taking risks is closely tied to vision and purpose. The 2% use their clarity of purpose as a compass, guiding them through decisions that require courage. They do not leap blindly. They act in alignment with their long-term goals, ensuring that each risk is meaningful, strategic, and directed toward growth. In contrast, the 98% often let fear of temporary discomfort dictate their entire trajectory, avoiding choices that could elevate their lives, and in doing so, they remain confined within the ordinary. Opportunity and risk are inseparable. Those who achieve extraordinary results recognize that the moments that define their lives are often disguised as challenges, uncertainties, or threats. To seize these moments, action must precede certainty. The 2% understand that hesitation diminishes potential and that decisive movement creates momentum. Every risk taken, when guided by intelligence, preparation, and purpose, strengthens skill, builds confidence, and opens doors that would otherwise remain closed. The act of stepping beyond comfort repeatedly compounds, producing experiences, relationships, and achievements that set them apart from the majority who remain tethered to caution. Resilience is the invisible force that separates those who rise from those who fall under pressure. Life is never smooth, and challenges arrive without warning, testing patience, determination, and belief. The 98% are defeated by these trials, allowing fear, doubt, or frustration to dictate their actions, often abandoning their dreams when the path becomes difficult. The 2% understand that setbacks are inevitable, but they are neither permanent nor defining. They cultivate mental toughness, a capacity to endure, adapt, and continue forward despite adversity, understanding that persistence through difficulty is the foundation of all extraordinary achievement. Emotional control is at the heart of resilience. Most people are ruled by their feelings, reacting impulsively to disappointment, criticism, or stress. The ordinary allow anger, fear, or insecurity to cloud judgment, creating cycles of regret and missed opportunity. The 2% practice mastery over their emotions, observing reactions without surrendering to them. They maintain composure, clarity, and focus, knowing that decisions made in calm, rational states consistently produce superior results. Resilience is not the absence of emotion, but the ability to channel it purposefully, turning frustration into determination, doubt into analysis, and fear into disciplined action. Challenges are also opportunities for growth. The 2% perceive difficulties not as obstacles, but as lessons designed to strengthen skill, character, and understanding. Each setback is examined, its lessons absorbed, and strategies adjusted. They do not waste energy lamenting the problem or dwelling on blame. Instead, they focus on what can be controlled, what can be learned, and what steps must follow. This approach allows them to convert adversity into advantage, while those unprepared for emotional management are trapped in cycles of reaction, stagnation, and regret. Resilience is cultivated deliberately. The 2% train themselves to persist in the face of discomfort, to act even when conditions are unfavorable, and to see temporary hardships as part of a larger trajectory. They understand that life will constantly test focus, commitment, and courage, and they build habits that reinforce endurance, disciplined routines, strategic planning, and mental rehearsal. By repeatedly confronting challenges, they develop a confidence and strength that becomes self-reinforcing, making it increasingly difficult for obstacles to derail them. This mastery of mind and emotion also creates independence from external validation. The 2% do not rely on encouragement or approval to keep moving. Their inner strength and resilience provide the energy and motivation required to maintain momentum when the world is indifferent, critical, or hostile. The ordinary often wait for reassurance or external push, but the extraordinary generate their own drive, maintaining clarity of purpose and consistency of effort regardless of circumstance. They know that success is less about luck or opportunity and more about the ability to endure, adapt, and act with composure and determination when others falter. The journey of success is a journey of constant learning. The 98% believe that once they acquire basic skills or reach a certain level of knowledge, growth is complete, and effort beyond that point is unnecessary. They settle for what they already know, relying on past achievements or experience to carry them forward. The 2% understand that mastery is not a destination but a process, and that the world is constantly evolving. To remain among the extraordinary, they embrace continuous learning, seeking knowledge, refining skills, and adapting to change with agility and insight. Learning is not confined to formal education or structured programs. The 2% are voracious observers of life itself. They study successes and failures, both their own and those of others, extracting lessons from every circumstance. Books, conversations, experiences, and challenges become teachers, and every opportunity is examined for wisdom that can be applied to future action. They know that knowledge is useless without application, so learning is always paired with action, experimentation, and reflection. While the ordinary remain passive, the extraordinary actively pursue understanding and insight, making learning a daily habit and a lifelong commitment. Adaptation is the natural result of continuous learning. The 2% understand that circumstances, industries, and opportunities change constantly, and the ability to evolve is critical. Stubborn adherence to old methods, outdated thinking, or rigid routines is a trap that keeps the 98% stagnant. Those who succeed are willing to question assumptions, revise strategies, and embrace innovation. They treat change not as a threat, but as a tool for growth, seeing each new challenge as an invitation to stretch, improve, and gain advantage. Flexibility of mind and openness to new ideas ensures that their progress never plateaus and that they remain ahead of the competition and prepared for unforeseen opportunities. Curiosity fuels this process. The 2% cultivate a mindset of inquiry, asking questions, seeking clarity, and exploring beyond surface understanding. They recognize that answers are rarely final, and that the depth of insight often comes from persistence in observation and analysis. They experiment, make adjustments, and test hypotheses, understanding that each step of discovery refines both skill and judgment. In contrast, the ordinary accept surface, level knowledge, limiting their perspective and restricting their potential. The extraordinary refuse complacency, knowing that the pursuit of improvement is infinite and that the effort invested in learning multiplies results in ways effort alone cannot achieve. Learning also builds confidence. The more one knows, the more one can act decisively and creatively. The 2% leverage knowledge to make informed decisions, seize opportunities others cannot see, and navigate complexity with skill and composure. They understand that expertise is not static but cumulative, and that small, consistent efforts to learn and adapt compound over time into mastery, influence, and achievement that leave the ordinary far behind. Taking ownership is the defining characteristic of those who rise above the ordinary. The 98% often blame circumstances, luck, or other people for their failures, waiting for external forces to change before they act. They live in reaction, allowing life to happen to them rather than taking control of it. The 2% understand that the ultimate power lies in accepting full responsibility for every decision, every action, and every outcome. They recognize that no one else is accountable for their dreams, their vision, or the results they seek, and they refuse to abdicate that responsibility. Action is the natural extension of ownership. Knowing what must be done and failing to do it is as ineffective as never knowing it at all. The 2% do not wait for motivation, permission, or perfect conditions. They move decisively, taking steps that are deliberate, focused, and aligned with their goals. They understand that hesitation breeds doubt, and that every day spent waiting is an opportunity lost. Action transforms vision into reality, turning ideas and plans into tangible results, and it is through consistent, deliberate action that extraordinary achievement becomes inevitable. Procrastination is the enemy of ownership and the friend of the ordinary. Those who hesitate allow fear, uncertainty, and comfort to dictate their choices, often convincing themselves that delay is harmless or even wise. The 2% recognize the danger of delay and treat every moment as precious. They prioritize action over comfort, progress over ease, and long-term results over temporary satisfaction. Each decision to act reinforces their power and expands their capacity, while each choice to wait diminishes momentum, erodes confidence, and strengthens habits of inaction. Ownership also demands honesty. The 2% confront reality without excuses or rationalizations. They analyze failures with clarity, acknowledging where they fell short and what adjustments are necessary. They celebrate success without arrogance, understanding that it is a product of conscious effort, disciplined action, and informed decision-making. This honesty cultivates learning, resilience, and credibility, enabling them to refine strategies and make better choices in the future, while those who deflect blame remain trapped in cycles of frustration and stagnation. Decisive action requires courage. The 2% act even when outcomes are uncertain, understanding that control comes from engagement, not avoidance. They create their own opportunities rather than waiting for circumstances to align. They accept the risks, the discomfort, and the challenges inherent in meaningful work, knowing that taking responsibility for their lives grants them the power to shape it. Every choice, every step, every action taken with clarity, purpose, and ownership compounds over time, producing results far beyond what the ordinary imagine possible, and building momentum, confidence, and influence that set them apart from those who wait for life to act on their behalf. When we step back and look at the journey of those who succeed, one truth stands out above all: extraordinary achievement is not reserved for the lucky, the privileged, or the naturally talented. It is reserved for those who think differently, act deliberately, and refuse to settle for mediocrity. The 2% succeed because they understand that life rewards clarity, discipline, resilience, and purposeful action. They cultivate the right mindset, define a compelling purpose, embrace learning, and take responsibility for their results. Success is not a single moment or an event. It is the sum of countless decisions, deliberate choices, and consistent actions compounded over time. While the 98% drift, waiting for motivation, opportunity, or permission, the extraordinary create their own momentum. They surround themselves with the right people, navigate risk with courage, master their emotions, and persist when others quit. Every failure becomes a lesson, every challenge a stepping stone, and every risk a chance to grow. The message is clear. The difference between living an ordinary life and achieving extraordinary results lies entirely in the way you think, the way you act, and the way you refuse to allow circumstances to control your destiny. Each one of us has the power to align our thoughts, habits, environment, and choices with our highest aspirations. The choice to join the 2% begins with awareness, grows with discipline, and is cemented through persistent, purposeful action. Life will not wait, and opportunity favors those who act. The moment to take ownership, embrace challenges, and pursue excellence is now,